My name is Anthony, I'm with Eroad. Today we're going to go over the Core Hub Extreme installation. For this particular video, we're going to use the Carrier 7700 X4.
Now let's explore what's included in the Core Hub Extreme package. First off, we got our Core Hub Extreme. Next in line, we got the Carrier main harness, followed by your start-stop switch. Next, we have our 7-way trailer harness. This is our antenna. Right on the box, we have the QR code for you to download the installer app. Also included is our mounting bracket. Here are some extra accessories like zip tie screws and other items that you may need for your installation.
So first off, we're gonna turn our unit on and verify that we have no alarms and that we actually have power to the unit. After we verified that we have no active alarms, we're gonna shut the unit off and remove power from the battery. At this point, it's up to you, but me personally, I like to take off the doors and the bottom panel so I have easier access to my wires and whatever other connectors I need to get to. Next, we're gonna remove the negative terminal connector from the battery for electrical safety. Depending on size of terminal on this particular battery is a 14 mil. Remove the stud and I will isolate power to the unit. So now our next thing, what I'm gonna do is open up the door, my display. I'm gonna remove the 4 10mm bolts right here so I could disconnect my display and I have access for my wiring and to connect my core hub. As we're taking the bolts off, we do need to make sure that we do not drop the display as it's still connected on the back end. So always make sure you always have a hand free to hold it. Next, we're gonna install our mounting bracket. Two things to note is that make sure we use our 5/16 stainless steel self-tapping screws provided. And when we do install the bracket, that we have pointy side up. When installing the bracket, we always wanna make sure that it's gonna be secure up against the bulkhead or on our cross frames. So next, I'm just gonna put the bracket up against the bulkhead and I wanna mark the holes where we're gonna drill. One thing to keep in mind when we're putting the self-tapping screws in is that we run the drill at low speed so as to not to strip the hole that we're making with the self-tapping screws. A few things to note about the Core Hub Extreme. Here is your reset button. If you are ever asked to do a hard reset, this is where you're gonna hold down your reset button, typically for about 25 to 30 seconds until your LED status light extinguishes. When mounting the Core Hub Extreme unit, we wanna have all the wires and plugs facing down as to prevent water intrusion into the plugs. All right, when installing our harness, you're gonna wanna pull this red locking pin down, connect your harness, and you will hear an audible click when it's gone in all the way. If we are ever having to replace or remove the harness from the Core Hub Extreme, you're gonna wanna do the opposite from the installation. You're gonna pull down your red pin and push on this black tab right here and give it a nice little tug. It does fit very tight. If you cannot pull it down this way, you're gonna remove the core hub and just hold it and pull it towards you. Coming off our main harness, you're gonna see various connectors and ring terminals. First ring terminal is labeled CH stud, which is gonna go into the negative terminal of your starter solenoid. 2 stud is gonna go to the positive terminal of your starting solenoid. Next, we have our standard SATCOM 1 connector. We have our optional fuel sensor connector. And finally, we have our J1 connector. If we are not using a RSS switch, we will connect J1 connector directly to this block right here. If we are using the optional RSS switch, which stands for remote start stop, you will remove this terminal from here and this will connect to your RSS switch, which we will get into later. First connection we're gonna make is our SATCOM connector. This is our main harness. This is from Carrier. We're gonna connect it until we get a nice click. Next, we're gonna look for a wire labeled J1. As you can see, we have a J1 label. We're gonna remove the cap, and depending on which make and model, like I said, it's gonna either have a cap with the fuse or it will have an actual jumper on it. I'm gonna remove the fuse, and this is the connection without RSS switch. And next, we're gonna remove this nut right here from the on-off switch. We're gonna use a 14mm box wrench or deep well socket. So we're gonna use the thicker nut provided. So I'm getting my needle nose pliers, pulling the switch up to make sure I'm in the right position. Typically you wanna use your needle nose pliers, pull up on the switch, and with your other finger, try to tighten that. We're gonna use our 14mm box end wrench, and then we just tighten it down. So now we're gonna use one of our self-tapping screws. We need to be careful when we do put in our set screws that we don't bite into the display controller. Next, what we're gonna do is we're gonna attach a little P-clamp at the bottom right here just to hold the wire so it doesn't rub up against anything, and we'll be ready to put the display back inside. And this is just gonna help with cable management once we get this. Okay, so as mentioned earlier, we have our power and our ground. We're gonna connect our CH ring terminal to our negative stud and our number 2 ring terminal to our power stud. So now that we have all our wires connected, we have our negative and our positive, we're gonna start cleaning up with zip ties and bringing it across and make a nice, neat little bundle of wires. I avoided going to the bottom of here because on this particular model, there are diesel lines running against the wiring harness, and we do want to avoid connecting our electrical lines near or on any type of diesel or fuel lines. Important thing to note, depending which way you're routing your wires, always make sure that we know which parts of the engine do move. As you can see here, we have some pulleys with the band, so we want to make sure that we have our wires down under, tucked in, and zip tied nice and tight. If we're going to run it down the other way, same thing. We just want to make sure we have all our wires nice and tight up against the harness, and then nothing's near any moving parts to get caught. Now that we got our RSS switch connected, we're going to make sure that we mount it securely. And now we're going to connect our J1 jumper connector and our plug to our harness. What you're going to do, since this is a RSS switch install, we're going to remove our plug. We're going to connect our harness together. Make sure we put it in the right way. It is keyed. RSS switch is connected. We're going to locate our J1 connector. We're going to uncap our J1 jumper. Since this is a RSS switch install, we're going to put this to the side, and we're going to connect our J1 jumper connector from the RSS switch harness into our J1 connector. And now we have completed all necessary connections to the unit. Next, what we're going to do is bundle all our wires up, connect our display module, and we're going to go up top and connect our antenna. Next, what we're going to do is we're going to connect our 7-way harness adapter to the 7-way and to our Core Hub Extreme harness. Here's our 7-way harness. Let's remove it. As you can see, we have 3 wires in our harness: brown, blue, and white. We're just going to do wire for wire, color for color. So what you're going to do is you're going to run the wiring up, down from the top, and up into the rubber grommet. Next, we're going to connect our provided heat shrink ring terminals to the 7-way. So we're going to match color for color. White, it's going to go to white. Next, we're going to do brown. We're going to go to brown. And always remember, if these are miscolored, mismatched, or whatnot, these are always labeled, very conveniently labeled right here. Green is labeled GRN, red RED, brown BRN, and so forth. We're gonna match color for color. White, it's gonna go to white. Next, we're gonna do brown. We're gonna go to brown. Next, what we're gonna do is we're gonna go blue to blue. Make sure next we put the studs on. Be sure to not over tighten, as we will break off the heads. One other thing to mention here, for this particular unit, we have diesel lines running down here. Since we are gonna have power running through these lines, make sure that when we do zip tie them up, that we try to stay as far away from the diesel lines as possible. All right, guys, so we've already ran the wire down to the Core Hub Extreme. One important thing to remember on this antenna is that we have the sky side facing up. I already pre-drilled my holes right here, and what we are gonna do is we're gonna mount the unit with the antenna sky side facing up on this metal crossbeam. I like to pre-drill my holes, but we do include some nice stainless steel self-tapping screws. One important thing to remember is when we are zip tying this unit, antenna unit, we do want to make sure that we do not zip tie too high to the top and pinch the top of that coax cable, as it will break it. Next, we're going to connect our 2 connectors to the Core Hub Extreme. We're going to connect our purple wire, tab facing towards you, which is your cellular connection point, until it clicks. We're going to do the same thing with the GPS antenna, which is your blue. We've already wired our wire down. We've connected our 3 wires to our 7-way. Next, we're going to plug our 7-way adapter to the main harness. Next step is we're gonna start bundling up wires. We have everything connected. We got our power, we got our SATCOM, we got our J1, and we got our remote start stop switch. I like to put all my wires, I'm gonna flip them over to the other side. I'm just gonna connect one bolt just to hold my display module up so I could get a good, nice bundle of wires going on. We're gonna connect our display module harness. Please don't forget that. I already connected my display module and I just connected one bolt to make sure I don't drop my module. One important thing to remember, guys, on your harness, you're gonna have your normal and bypass switch right here. It should always come in the normal position. When we do mount the unit, we just wanna mount it up where you could see the little switch if we ever need it in the long run. Now that we got our wires nice and bundled up, zip tied very nicely, we're gonna connect our 10mm screws for our display module. Next, we're gonna attach the provided QR code sticker to the unit. We also have the 3 provided stickers that come in the kit. We're gonna attach these to the door. Now, with our on-off switch turned to off on the display, we're gonna come over to our battery and reconnect our negative terminal. Now we have power to the unit. We should start seeing a sequence of lights. It's gonna go from blue to green and then to a solid red. Next, we're gonna turn our power switch on, hit our on-off button. We're gonna open up our Core Hub installer app and we're gonna scan the QR code that we attached to the unit.
Right, first off, we're gonna push the install button. Next, we're gonna select our company that we're gonna install the unit to. And if applicable, we will select our fleet. Next, we're gonna hit the scan now and scan the QR code that we placed on the reefer. We're gonna select the CAN protocol and we will select no EMS. On this screen, we will enter the VIN number from the reefer if we so choose. If not, we will wish to proceed without VIN. We will toggle that green. For odometer, we will enter 1 mile. For vehicle name, we will put in the trailer number as we want it to appear in 360. Next, we will select the year of the trailer. Under vehicle type, we'll push the button and select refrigerated trailer. Next, we will select our reefer type. Depending on configuration, it will either be a carrier or a Thermo King unit. On tank volume, we will toggle that button and we will select the appropriate size tank. We will select carrier ultrasonic if it's a factory installed unit. We will select Cortex Fuelie if it's a Cortex branded fuel sensor. We do not toggle ELD or streamer option. In the following screen, verify all the trailer details. If everything looks correct, click submit. We should now see reefer diagnostics, which includes reefer mode, set point, and various other reefer data. Next, we're going to click activate vehicle. In this screen, we'll take a photo of the installed Core Hub unit and any other relevant pictures. Once you take all your pictures, please click submit. Here in the job details screen, your name and email address will be pre-filled out for you. Click contracted by other and your company name in the next field. If a Cortex job number was provided, put that in the Cortex job number. If none was provided, please put NA. Lastly, click submit.
All right, congratulations, guys. You just successfully connected the Core Hub Extreme to the asset. Next, we're gonna put everything back together and clean up our mess.